Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Real Football Talk. We'll be doing the roundup of the Champions League fixture of Chelsea and FC Porto and Bayern Munich versus PSG. Adi, what was your take on the Chelsea Porto game with regards to how Chelsea kind of created a few chances, dominated the game, created a few chances, and took those really?
Yeah, very very similar to partly similar, I would say, to their performances in the Premier League for the most part, which is they dominate the game. This one there was slight difference, but largely comfortable win. And the biggest thing was how disappointing Porto's setup was in that first half. This is a Champions League quarter-final, and I just couldn't believe after 20 minutes. So Porto set up with a 5-3-1-1, and after about 20 minutes, they went to a 6-3-1 formation. And I'm not sure if Diaz was meant to become like a fullback or whether he's meant to be a 5-4-1, but he played it like a six-man at the back. And we're talking about James. Reece James here. We're not talking about one of the world-class wingers. For them to have that much cover, I just thought said a lot about the intentions and mentality of Porto. They gave Chelsea so much respect, and the second half showed it. I mean, they caused Chelsea quite a few problems in the second half. So just their setup and the way they respected Chelsea in the first half, I was quite astonished. This
seems to be a trend with almost all the teams that are facing Chelsea, where they're going ultra either defensive or respecting them too much. Is it just the Tuchel factor? Is it because of how much they are dominating possession? Does that play into the coach's mind too much?
I think it's a unique system that Tuchel started here. It's not a system that any team previously was really doing, and we've seen a few teams in the Premiership do iterations of this now, similar one like Brighton. But the whole it's effectively 3-4-2-1 formation with wing backs. But a lot of the times, the wing backs are so high up, and they play in such an aggressive way that it ends up being 3-2-4-1.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of teams see that the way the wing backs are playing more like wingers rather than wing backs, and end up changing their style and their formation to combat it. So yeah, clearly I think it's more the formation than anything else. But the thing with the problem with Porto's approach in the first half was they set up to play on the counter. They're not a bad team. I mean, you'll see they play 1-2 touch football. They're quite comfortable playing it out. But when the way this Chelsea team sets up is, they always keep the three at the back and two defensive midfielders in place. Only on occasions you'll see Kovacic break, but in general they stick to that formula, and they certainly did in this game. They weren't overcommitting at any point in the game. They didn't over attack at any point in the game. So Porto's counter-attacking style, and the thing with Porto is they counter-attack at pace. They try and get up the pitch really quick with their combination, and they're good at it. They can do it. But at no point did they suck Chelsea in or make Chelsea commit enough players to actually create a real counter-attack opportunity.
But don't you think they were too deep also?
Porto. Yeah, I mean, that's their style. They play on the counter-attack. But the thing with Chelsea, they had so many men back, and they had so many extra players back that Chelsea didn't even bother having to commit extra men. Because you got to remember, I mean, even though it's at a neutral venue, this one is the one that's considered Porto's home game. So, you know, once, Chelsea weren't really going to risk, um, conceding. They were happy just to, play safe, work for the opportunity, dominate the game, and try and force Porto to come out of their shell, really. But they didn't have to because they managed to get the goal. And even for the goal, the way that was the only first time in the first half where the Porto midfield did not press up on Jorginho and Kovacic. They actually sat off. And that was the first time Chelsea were able to play at their preferred slow tempo, possession tempo. As soon as they did that, they were able to now push James up the pitch, get Mount in between the lines. Before that, even though they were dominating, they weren't able to create. They weren't able to go through the center of the pitch and attack through the center of the pitch. A lot of it was going out wide. So, and it's great goal from Mount. I mean, what a turn! Great finish.
This is what I was going to ask you. Even though it was a good pass where he kind of Jorginho sucked the defender out, but the way he took it under control, and even then the way he finished it from, he still had a lot to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good sign that he took the shot early, didn't take another touch. He got out of his feet, he adjusted his footwork and just hit it, and it was a great shot. Yeah, I mean, thoroughly what they deserved, especially with the way Porto set up. I mean, I still can't get my head around going 6 at the back against this Chelsea team. I mean, you're not playing against Hazard or Robben or, you're playing against the off-form Werner, Havertz. Again, both of them were poor today. The only real threat in this Chelsea attacking lineup currently is Mount.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get Chilwell going past 4 or 5 players. You're not gonna get James doing that. So Warner, Havertz off form. Your only real threat is Mount. He's the only guy who's gonna make something happen. Who's got that spark and has got that end quality now, or he's starting to get that end quality. So it's so strange. Porto said they deserved it. I mean, if anything, they deserve to lose by a bigger margin just for their lack of ambition in the first half.
You say that, but in the second half, they did kind of change their formation and they seemed to create more chances and opportunities for themselves. Obviously, they weren't clinical enough.
I mean, that was the interesting thing. As soon as Chelsea went 1-0 up, they kind of made Mount drop into and they went into this 5-3-2, and straight Porto started to dominate the game a bit. Towards the end of the first half again, they came back into it. They had a few corners, looked a bit threatening. And I was thinking, is Tuchel going to go with a slightly more defensive setup in the second half, the way he ended the half? But I think the way that half ended made him go back to sticking to the formation, because second half, Chelsea went back to having just a 2 in midfield and not bringing Mount back in. But Porto's dominated because they went to 4-2-3-1. So, and one of the defensive midfielders was pressing high up. So they had 5 players committed to the press in the opposition half, 5 players, defending. So what happened? Chelsea obviously found it a bit harder to play out. I mean, they're still comfortable. They're still playing up, but it was the wing backs had to drop deep to pick up the ball, because there was no forward passing channels, so they had to drop deep and go square for the pass. So the whole build-up of Chelsea's was stopped, and obviously, Porto attacking, and they had quite a few chances. I felt Chelsea defenders really struggled with containing Marega.
Yep.
I mean, he was quite good because he's strong and physical, but he has got enough pace, and he does make cute runs in behind. So, I mean, they could have had a soft penalty. In Europe, you can never contact the European referees giving a soft penalty. So, when Azpilicueta slight push, I mean, it would have been very harsh on Chelsea if that was given, but still a risk. with the way European referees are.
I mean, as soon as you put your hand up there, you're kind of giving that
When-
decision to or the dilemma to the referee, really.
Yeah, I think definitely the referee called it right. There was nowhere near enough. We're talking about Marega, who's strong and powerful, and is falling over like that. But yeah, Mendy had to do a few saves, and only when Tuchel changed his system in the last 10 minutes did Chelsea look take control of the game. I wouldn't say they looked troubled, but they were giving the initiative to Porto. They went kind of defensive and they weren't doing the high press, which is again things we haven't noticed Chelsea do much since Tuchel's come in. This is the first game where they kind of sat off and let Porto have possession, let Porto have it out wide and try to create. And that's why a lot of the chances Porto had was in front of or outside of the box and long range shots.
So, do you think the substitutions kind of made the impact in terms of changing the
control? Yeah, because once once Kante and mainly Thiago Silva came in, they were able to handle Marega better because Marega started to play on Azpilicueta's side and he was starting to cause problems for Azpilicueta. So Christensen going out there being slightly more physical with him, controlled the game, and then they went to a 5-3-2 formation, and Chilwell and Thingy weren't really pushing up. They're actually staying as a 5 mainly. But Kante, we all know his engine, and so he was making the difference as well. But straight away, I mean, when they hit the angle with Pulisic's shot, I was thinking, are Chelsea gonna get caught out here? Are Porto, because obviously Porto were in the ascendancy, but a minute later, the mistake. Well, mistake, but excellent finish from Chilwell. Pace, power, go around the keeper, composure. Excellent finish, really, but it's very similar to the mistake Trent made yesterday. Of a fullback struggling to deal with a straight ball in behind.
I mean, seems like pretty much you can say the tie is done. 2 away goals for Chelsea. You don't really see Porto coming back from that, considering obviously they couldn't really threaten them enough. Let's turn our attention to the Bayern Munich PSG game. I mean, wow, what a game! From a neutral point of view, is just a brilliant game to watch. What did you make of the game and Mbappe shining again?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Mbappe's finishes for both goals was just really good finish. I mean, everyone will allude to the mistake of Neuer for the first goal, but I still think Mbappe deserves a lot of credit for that goal because most strikers in that position are shooting it across goal with their instep. He laced it while the ball's spinning away toward the byline. That's what creates the sudden curve back in. So the fact that he laced it against the spin is what actually catches Neuer out. So it's not just a simple goalkeeping error. It's actually a goalkeeping error created by the shot, created by Mbappe lacing it.
A player of Neuer's quality, world-class keeper, we still expect him to save that.
But it's still an element of surprise, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there ain't many strikers who would choose to lace it in that way and have it and use the spin of the ball for it to come back in suddenly. So, as much as Neuer is a terrible keeper error, I would still say, Mbappe had a part to play in that. And for that goal, I mean, Mbappe rightly will take a lot of the credit for his finishing, but I thought Neymar was unbelievable the whole game. I mean, he was the guy that Bayern couldn't handle. As soon as he had the ball in space, his run and the way he created that first goal for Mbappe was amazing. I mean, he literally dribbled through 4 players, and the timing of the pass, the way he's dribbling with his right and then switches to his left foot for the slide rule pass into, and he waits for the perfect moment for Sule to commit to him. I mean, we've been speaking about the last few weeks about how many times, especially in the Prem, from the better teams, the players are trying to commit the last defender and pass it, and they're not very good at it. Well, here's why Neymar is world class. He made it look easy. I mean, at that, and I mean, he had a lot of fast players chasing after. He had Alaba, Kimmich. They're not slow. Goretzka. They're not slow players, and he was absolutely, he's running away from him. When it happened, I was thinking, is that Mbappe? That's how fast Neymar looked. So,
but I think
speed is
you kind of alluded to it. He's really quick on the ball in terms of when he's dribbling with the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way he gets the ball out of his feet in his dribble. But sensational. I mean, he created that out of nothing, really. I mean, quick 1-2, and then to drive through the whole midfield, and it's like we predicted. I mean, the game went exactly how we predicted in our European forecast show. We said how Bayern only play one way, which is all-out attack, very positive, high line, and that this PSG team with the pace they have can catch them out. And that's exactly what happened. And I felt the game, the dynamics of the game changed with the injuries and the changes both teams had to make, and it affected PSG more than it affected Bayern, because Bayern, they had players who could, like, Goretzka getting injured. Alaba has played in midfield a lot. I mean, it cost them for that third goal too, which again was another fantastic finish for Mbappe. I mean, the quality to
sell Neuer
twice in the game. I mean, the first one was a bit more of an error, but the second one, I mean, to leave Neuer standing like that, I mean, he didn't know, he didn't see that shot coming to his near post. I mean, it's just beautifully crafted by Mbappe. But again, for that goal, the movement of Neymar was exceptional. The way in which Neymar draws Boateng in and then spins off completely. I mean, that is the movement that allowed Mbappe to be 1-on-1 with Hernandez, and obviously the rest is, history. I mean, that the way in which he manipulated, like he's going to bend it around and just go inside. Fantastic finish. I mean, world class, really.
Let's flip our attention to Bayern Munich, because obviously we spoke about the problems they have at the back in terms of having slow defenders and players. Maybe they could have gone with Davis at the back as well in terms of left back to give them a bit more pace. But in terms of the attacking threat, they seem to have been really positive, creating lots of opportunities. But it just seems like they're missing Lewandowski. That's what the problem was. And
I mean, PSG's defending was terrible. I mean, really, every set piece, even when Marquinhos was on before he got injured, Bayern looked a threat in every corner, every free kick. The central defense was not good at handling the balls into the box. And once Marquinhos went off, I mean, Danilo Pereira, I mean, he's not a mobile defensive midfielder. I don't think he's a good defensive midfielder. And as a defender, he's atrocious. He's terrible. He could not handle Choupo-Moting the whole game. And every ball into the box just looked like I mean, the way in which Bayern dominated the game and had so many chances, just 2 balls in the box, leaves this tie wide open, because clearly PSG have a lot of defensive injuries at centre back, and even their left back, I forgot his name again. He's actually a centre back, and he was even he got injured and they had to bring Bakal on. So he they've lost another cover defender. So a lot. I think PSG will be stressing whether Marquinhos is fit, because yeah, if Lewandowski was playing, Bayern would have had a massive lead. I mean, they had so many chances, just two crosses in the box, and PSG just couldn't handle it. The good thing was PSG, the way they defended deep, and they protected the central zone of the pitch. All the attacks were out wide. I mean, Bayern really struggled to create and get the ball into Muller and get it into the 10 positions. So, you know, PSG set up to allow Bayern to get the ball out wide and get balls into the box. Where the problem was is the defenders. Really, the defenders could not header that ball or handle the crosses in.
Is this? Do you think is this something that might really cost PSG in the second leg?
It's hard to say because you can say the same thing for Bayern. I mean, the high line that they played was very naive. I know that's won them the Champions League last year against PSG, but as it was rightly pointed out, I think by Rio Ferdinand in the BT Sport Week, I mean, PSG had 3 gilt-edged chances before Bayern took the lead with that high line. I mean, you're playing against Neymar and Mbappe and Di Maria, all fast players, all excellent dribblers of the ball at pace. Playing such a high line is naive. So I think PSG set up the best way they could to make it difficult. That's why, when you look at the balance of possession and the domination of Bayern, you would expect Bayern to have scored more, but really PSG done well just to keep the attacks out wide and not much central. And I mean, PSG had got a lot of blocks in, a lot of last-ditch tackles in. So that compact, deep, staying deep block probably prevented them conceding more. And they weren't naive. At the end of the day, they realized they got deficiencies in the defense. They realized the quality and they respected the quality of Bayern. That's probably why they didn't concede as many as they would have. But I feel like Bayern gifted the goals in the way that they played so high up against. I mean, Sule, I wasn't surprised when he got substituted because he struggled. I mean, he was a yard behind everyone or 2 yards behind the back line every single time. Every single time. So I wasn't surprised when he got substituted in the first half. He may have got an injury, but that was a blessing in disguise. So I think it's evenly poised. A lot depends on the adjustments. Are Bayern gonna? Because surprisingly, in the second half, they did defend a lot deeper, which I haven't seen them do ever against any opposition, which has changed their identity. They were defending a lot deeper, and PSG couldn't get those counter-attack opportunities. But the goal happened, the third goal happened the one time, and it's just terrible play from Alaba. For him to try a diagonal ball with his weaker foot like that was really bad to say. And that was the only time where Bayern were caught out really badly in the second half, and they got punished. I mean, there was one other one, which Neuer done a good save from Neymar, but other than that, it was surprising to see Bayern give him that respect.
It could be that PSG decided to kind of just sit back and watch the game out.
Well, as soon as they went 2-0 up, I mean, PSG defended, and they defended. They weren't really looking to attack unless it's a counter.
A player I wanted to kind of touch up on is Choupo-Moting. I mean, he seems to be just scoring in all of the big games. He's coming from Stoke, went to PSG last year, scored in the, I think, semi-final or something. And then now this year, again, in the quarterfinal, he comes up when, Lewandowski is missing. He seems like taking his opportunity whenever he gets it.
Yeah, I mean, he scored a good goal header today. I mean, if he was a really cold striker, he would have scored a few more today. He didn't really do enough to work Pereira. He just waited for the ball to come in the box. I think if Lewandowski was playing, he would have created space and cause more problems. But he's a bit like Origi, there's some romanticism with the Champions League where he seems to pop up and get crucial goals and I mean his last few seasons played for two good teams. So PSG and Bayern, you're always going to get chances and likely to get good opportunities to score. So definitely, he's definitely a player that seems to like the Champions League knockout stages.
I mean, this builds up for a fascinating second leg, really, for from a neutral point of view for us to watch in terms of the second leg. Thank you, Adil, for your insight into the game. I'm really looking forward to the second leg and seeing how it ends up, really, and if your prediction's right.
Yeah, this one's the only one I'd say the ties left. I think the other three ties are gone. They're sealed.
The Liverpool comeback might be on that.
I don't. Let's see. I mean, you can never rule it out, but I'll be very surprised.
Me too. Thank you, Adil. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, thank you.